Well, we're here at EA with Emmanuel of Bioware. Emmanuel, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for coming. I hope you're having fun.
Yes, definitely. We're actually getting a chance to really dive into the PvP now. Can you give us kind of an overview of Warzone PvP and how it works?
Alright, so the Warzone you've seen today was the Underground Warzone, which is 8 players from the Republic versus 8 players from the Empire. It's a pretty simple concept. They are each trying to control 3 turrets and turn them against the other side ship and shoot it down.
One thing about that we noticed when we were playing in the Warzone is that it's very much objective based. Definitely there are players who said, hey, let's just hang back, try to get as many kills as possible, but that didn't necessarily contribute directly to winning the map. Was that on purpose?
Definitely. We are trying to really promote a good community in PvP, and we are rewarding among other things, team building and helping your teammate, but also just doing the objectives. So in the first match, even though the Empire were really leading up in damage and kill, they end up losing the match because they were not paying attention to capturing the turrets and turning them against the enemy. So it's definitely on purpose.
Okay, so we've noticed when we're playing PvP, I mean, definitely Star Wars Old Republic is a game about, living out the fantasy of being a hero in the Star Wars universe. That said, characters are going to get some really, really powerful abilities that they can use to, kill a bunch of monsters, which is great, but in PvP it may not be as fun to have these heroic abilities inflicted on you, so I guess the way that's kind of been resolved in Warzone PvP is this concept of control versus resolve. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, definitely. So as you mentioned, we have a lot of effect we consider controlling because they take away your ability to move or act, and we wanted to keep them in the game because they're actually some of the most fun and visually stunning ability. Let's give an example. The flamethrower would disable your enemies while you're setting them on fire. Now, what we've introduced is a simple concept, that of resolve, and as bad or terrible things happening to your character, as control is taken away from your character, you just build up resolve quite quickly, really. And once your resolve meter is full, everybody can see that, and now you become immune to further controlling effect for a good amount of time, 8 seconds right now. So it's a mix. Some classes that really rely on being able to control another character so that they can set up their move can still do that, but they have to pay attention whether the person has built up resolve or not. So there's a really tactical element to it.
And so it seems like in PvP there are a great many incentives to get in there, get in the war zones, get some PvP done. For instance, I guess there's a whole Valor system with tokens. Can you talk about how that works?
So you're right, there's a lot of incentive, but we also give more incentive, more reward to the people, to the players that are playing their role. So when you pick an advanced class in the Old Republic, you get access to different roles for yourself. Let's say you could be a healer or a damage dealer or a tank. And whichever role you pick, we want to reward you for playing that. So we have a system of badges that are going to be rewarding you for doing what you're supposed to do. As a healer, you get badges for healing other people, reaching certain number of healing points and so on. And all of this is going to contribute to the total reward you get for playing the Warzone. One of the things we are rewarding you is Valor points, which is essentially a way to rank you against every other person on the server and see how much Valor you've accumulated. It always goes up. It's really literally how much PvP and how well you've been doing. We also give you Valor tokens, which is a PvP currency you can use to buy good equipment for yourself. PvP-centric equipment, obviously.
Okay, and in addition to some of these incentives and rewards, PvP just seems like it's not just something maybe that you would dabble in and then kind of leave. I mean, it seems like there's really a full-fledged game that you can earn loot, you can earn experience points, you can earn full sets of armor and items. I mean, is it how far can players go in PvP? Can they spend their entire career, for instance, in PvP?
If they wanted to, I mean, we are going to limit the PvP. You need to be a certain level to start it, which is going to be pretty low, probably level 10, still being debated. But after that, if you wanted to stay in PvP, as the game stands now, you could stay it for forever. One of the things is we are not really concerned. We think we have a very strong rest of the game, like your class story is definitely something that is going to drive people forward. But if what you really like to do is PvP, you can do that, and you can earn the same kind of reward that you would be doing other activity. If you do a flashpoint, for example, which is kind of a group-centric activity, you're going to earn really good experience, loot, credit for doing so, and therefore we're going to reward you equally if you're spending time in PvP, definitely.
So there's definitely going to be very directed PvP in the war zones, which have their own set of rewards and goals and objectives. But is it fair to say that there's also going to be some other types of PvP, perhaps just out in the open world?
Right. So we're going to have two kind of server, at least. One is a PvP server and one is a PvE server. That's pretty traditional. But even on a PvE server, we are going to specify certain zone as being a PvP zone, a zone of conflict where you can encounter other players of the other faction and get into a fight. So definitely, if you don't like PvP and you join a PvE server, you would have way to avoid this zone. But we also want it. I mean, it's Star Wars. There's a conflict going on. It's important that you see the other side and that you can engage them.
Emmanuel, PvP is traditionally considered by a lot of people who play online games to be, the sanctuary of really hardcore players, of players who are very, very skilled, who really want the challenge of getting in there and grinding out these PvP battles. There may be some players out there who are very big Star Wars fans, but maybe not as big into these games. They may duck their head into PvP, and some people may be fearing, hey, I might step into PvP, get completely vaporized within minutes, and never want to come back. What is the Old Republic doing to kind of incentivize or just to ease new players into the PvP?
That's a great question. So one of the good things we have is we have this value system that is a score that tells us how well you're doing in PvP, how often you're doing it, and so on. And another thing that is playing well for us is we have a matchmaking system. So when people queue up for a war zone that they can do actually nearly anywhere in the game, there's a button on the main UI and say, yeah, I'd like to do some PvP. They click on it. We take all those players and we try to match them in level, match them also in skills. Another thing we are doing is that if you're queuing as a group, most likely I've been training as a group and you're going to be more efficient than people that are just queuing and by themselves. So the matchmaking system is going to try really to give you a good experience. But we also know that our decision is that if we can't match people perfectly, we'd rather start a war zone and have people actually go in the game and play it rather than waiting forever for the perfect matchup. So it's a bit of a compromise, but if we manage to get a really healthy PvP community, which we certainly hope we are going to, there will be a lot of Warzone at the same time, and naturally you'll be slotted with people of equal rank, equal skills.
Makes sense. Okay, man. Well, that's a really good overview, good look at the PvP in the Old Republic. For the folks at home watching, can you remind us when the game is coming out and for which platforms?
It's a PC game, and it's coming out in 2011.